They say that on the loneliest roads of the north, when the wind is all teeth and the moors hold their breath, a shape slides out of the fog like a stain, larger than any dog, blacker than a coal, with eyes that burn like a pair of bellows. That is the Barguest, the hush before a death and the thing that brings the hush. Long before turnpikes and town lights, shepherds and peat cutters called it into being with the language of fear. In the old country of Northumbria, where burial mounds dot the skyline and the old god's memory sleeps beneath turf, folk told that some dogs were born of barrows and bad bargains. One story passed from hearth to hearth says a warrior robbed a burial mound, and the spirit of the grave wove itself into his hound. Another says a priest's curse cast in anger at a thief took canine shape and stalked the lanes. Linguists whisper the name's roots, Old English guest for ghost, and the murky bar of barrow, so that Barguest becomes, in plain speech, barrow ghost, an earth-tide specter of the dead, a sentinel made from grief and warning. To see a Barhgest is to stare at doom given a body. Imagine a mastiff the size of a pony, with a coat like oil-slick night, shoulders knotted like river stones, and claws that scrape the ground with the sound of a coffin lid scraping oak. Its head sits low, ears flattened, breath steaming white even in warm weather. Some say it has a single eye at the center of its brow, others that it rides on the air with no footprints at all. Flames live in its mouth, or no light at all, and it can stretch itself, vanish into a wall, or mirror a traveler's voice to lead him away. Think of it as the moor's own law. It does not bite for sport. Where it appears, a bell tolls in the distance. Lives thin out like candlelight. There are names and nights that keep the Barguest alive. Near Troller's Gill, a narrow limestone cleft, a tale is told of a hunter who mocked the old tales and drove his hounds down into the throat of the gorge at dusk. The dogs came back torn and silent. The hunter swore he saw the Barguest seated like a prince upon the rock, watching him with candle eyes. He ran, and in the morning his horse was found riderless, hobbling toward the village with its saddle empty and a smear of black fur caught on the stirrup. In another telling, a tollkeeper along a lonely road heard his name called in the voice of his dead wife. He followed the sound and met a dog whose shadow swallowed the moon. He never returned, only his boots, neatly placed at the threshold, and a watch that had stopped at the very hour. Stories diverge about what the creature truly is. To children and the cautious, the Barguest is a lesson. Do not walk alone after dark. Do not steal from the dead. Respect the cairns. To ministers and magistrates, it was once a devil, a temptation to fear that kept people at home and churches full. Psychologists might call it the shadow, our collective dread of dying alone. Poets see it as grief's hound, loosed to run ahead and mark the path between the living and the lost. Some old women whisper that, far from merely heralding death, a Barguest can serve as guardian of an ancient grave. It will only appear when balance has been broken. And yet the Barguest refuses extinction. It rides the pages of Gothic novels, prowls the role-playing maps of modern gamers, and lurks in songs and pub names across Yorkshire. Night tour guides in Whitby and Yorkshire Dales will tell its stories by lantern light. Artists paint its coal-black silhouette. Folk festivals keep the name alive. Drivers on misted lanes still report a sudden, impossible pair of eyes in their headlights. A handful of modern witnesses who will swear, in the small hours, they felt a silence fall like a hand on their heart. So when you stand by a low stone wall and hear a church bell on a windless night, remember, the old tales walk on. The Barguest is not only an omen, it is the land's memory made fur and fang, an answer to every unanswered knock at the door, and the shape our fear takes when the world grows very still.